approaching it like a regular game for us. So just to really see, my biggest thing is our defense. Like, can we play as hard as we need to play and as disciplined as we need to play for a longer period than we did in our scrimmage a couple weeks ago. So that's kind of just really sustaining is what I want to see of doing things crisp and clean. We were a little sloppy in our scrimmage, even though that was 2 weeks ago, where I just want to see, again, how much can we improve from that. So, yeah, we're treating it like a game, but it's also going to be a good test for us just to kind of gauge where we're at and evaluate going into next week.
How much, when I say like trial and error, is trying to play different lineups together and get a sense of what works right now and what doesn't?
Yeah, that'll be some of the trial and error, right? Because we just have some new pieces. So obviously, our starting group will be the same, but then, how much can we play, Hobby and KB together? Where does our freshman fit in? Just getting some of that, where against different competition than ourselves or our practice guys. It'll also be a little bit different because they play a lot of 4 guards, so it's not going to be an ideal matchup to play 2 bigs for us. But we'll play around with some stuff, and it's good. You said a good opportunity to try it there.
How much just different is Makaira, the first season here versus where she's at right now? Do you feel like?
Her growth is in so many different areas, right? As a player, our players are always going to continue to get better, but I just think her overall understanding of kind of what we need, what we want, and then her leadership and her being vocal, her being able really to lead us on the floor and off the floor. I think she's taken another step, and that's always key, especially as a point guard and the leader of this team. So I'm really proud of her growth, and I think she'll just continue, to grow in all facets of the game and again from a leadership role.
When you bring in a couple transfers, a couple newcomers, and then kind of incorporate that with returning core that you have, how do you kind of see that kind of coming together? And are there any concerns that you have when you sort of have so much experience coming back and then kind of incorporating some new pieces in there?
Yeah, sometimes every year there's always that challenge of how you gonna mesh everyone together, how you gonna mesh minutes, how you gonna mesh personalities, how you gonna mesh expectations. So that's every season is a new journey with that. So yeah, we've been trying to, and I think that's not I don't think it's where we want it to be. We'll continue to kind of process that and see as we go through games, but they're all really adjusting well. I think they understand where they're at right now. And kind of their role right now, but roles are always fluid, and hopefully they continue to develop and evolve.
Can you play with the same pace you want to with Camille, or does that become a different kind of deal where you can now play both in a sense? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I hope. I think that maybe not right now we're where we want to get, but I think she'll get into that feel of how we want to play. She's made strides even from day one to now of being able, again, like I talked about earlier, all of our team to sustain the pace and the energy we need on both ends of the floor, because not everyone does that, right? Not everyone plays, at the tempo that we play. So the expectation is to do that on offense and to do that on defense. And so that's where early on, I think these games, especially for someone like Hobby, will be really, really important for her to just get a feel of what it feels like in a real game to play the way we want to play. So we can play fast with her. It may look a little different, but we're not changing how we're playing based on lineups. It's what we do, and she'll adapt, and she has adapted really well.
I feel like, we talked to Jayla last week, and she was one who wanted to hug Hobby because she doesn't have to play as much four anymore. Is that a big key, though, that you can now go big and go small with the teams, especially in the league that you're going to see?
Yes. I always say as a coach, you want options, right? You want as many options as you can, and the flexibility to play whatever lineup depending on who you're playing. Basketball is just a game of matchups. So will we be able to play it every game? No, probably not. We may not be able to play 2 bigs, but to have those options, to have Bryn healthy, to have Shay to be able to play more 4. Those are a lot of, again, just have flexibility. So, Dell will play some 4 at times just based off matchups, but it's not going to be like last year. Down the stretch, we had to play her heavy at the 4, especially when Bryn had her injury.
When Bryn went down, it was Sal and even Jada at the 4.
Yeah.
That didn't give you many more options.
No, and it's kind of crazy to think that we really played Jada at the 4.
Right.
You know, I mean, she's not a 4.
Right.
And man, I love those two for that. And talk about just being team players. They never once said, "Coach, why am I playing at the 4?" You know, they knew it was, this is what we had to do, and that I trusted them with it, and then they trusted me with it. They may not have loved it. I didn't love it. So hopefully again this year, options are key, and we'll have some of those.
How does the end of last year kind of burn with you guys as you guys prepared for preseason and getting ready for this season? Do you feel like that had an impact on, from a motivational standpoint, giving you guys ready to go?
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I hope no one's, happy with losing any game. So where I think that, yeah, if you would have told us at the beginning, a year ago from today, you're going to be in the NCAA tournament, we'd be like, well, I'll take it, right? But then you get in there and we're competitors, and we believed we were going to win every game that we stepped out on the floor. So yeah, it burned and it hurt them, and I would hope that they'd use that as motivation. And I think that they have. So, but now we also know this is a new year. This is a new team. It's a new journey. Last year's over. Whether, we like it or not, like, we can take what we've learned from last year, and I think we're in a better place because of it with experience. But last year's not going to get you a win this year. So we're just focused in on learning from those, failures, the good times last year, and really incorporating that into hopefully more success this year.
Just, did you sense the last season, though, as the, getting late in the season, the legs, tired, you kind of developed some tired legs as a team, and how much was depth an important part that you wanted to add this season to maybe avoid those problems you had later in the season? I know you had some injuries too as well, obviously.
Yeah, and I never like to say, there's a lot. We actually kind of did our own research on how many teams in the NCAA tournament and the number of players that they played, and the majority was about 7. I mean, no one's going really 8, 9, 10 deep anymore. Not when you get in, not your top teams in the country. Virginia Tech, I mean, they only played like 7 players, I think, and they made the Final Four. So I think that there's some, you can say that, but I think that the fatigue and the tired legs, I kind of think that's an excuse. So I don't look to that. Now the injuries, I do. Now, how does the injuries, some of it, could we have maybe some of those minutes, would that have led to non-injury? I don't know that, right? But so the tired, we need to be in condition to play, high minutes for a long time. But the injuries are what really hurt us last year, and the lack of depth.
You talked a lot last year just about having a number in front of your name. And now in the preseason with having that, what's maybe the difference there between starting the preseason out with that versus maybe kind of getting that midway through the year?
Hopefully last year having that, will help us a little bit this year. But I mean, we've talked about it one time. I did want them to be proud of it, so I did address it with them when we got the preseason ranking, because I also think it's something that they need to know. It hasn't happened since 1999. Again, none of them were alive. So I wanted them to say, hey, all the work you did last year, all of that got you to this, and this is where we want to go. So I think you have to recognize that and be proud of it. But then that's the last time we talked about it, and that was how many weeks ago. So, we're just trying to get better every single day. How can we be the best versions of ourselves? And we firmly, in this program, and what I believe is that you worry about the process, you worry about the day, and then hopefully the outcomes take care of themselves. So we're not going to talk about it. We're really trying to keep the outside noise to a minimum, and it's game time now. So I'm like, we got to focus in and eliminate distractions. The only expectations we talk about are the expectations we have for ourselves, the standards we have for ourselves, and not what the outside people have for us.
How much are you monitoring your 2 freshmen, how they react to playing Michigan State Thompson there in front of people? I know they play travel ball in some big time environments, but this is going to be new for them.
Yeah, it'll be new, and I'm sure there will be some probably missed shots and some nervousness, but that's again why you play an exhibition game and you put the jerseys on in front of people in the bright lights. So I think they'll be fine. They get that out. It's going to be a process. They're freshmen, so I always err on the side of being very patient with our freshmen, and everyone else should be used to it, and even our transfers, they're used to playing. I mean, Abby came from NC State. They had great crowd shaded, so those guys I'm not worried about. Yeah, the freshmen, they're probably going to have a couple moments where they're nervous.
To your point, though, if it's missed shots, is that go down as a plus because they're shooting and you want them to?
Yeah, it's a good point, right? And I'm okay with missed shots as long as they're the good shots and as long as they're playing defense. You guys know me by now. If they're playing defense and they're locked in on that defensive end, we'll work through the offensive part. Like a Gretchen, she'll probably play a lot of minutes, for us this season. And Corey's getting better every single day, and she's going to end up helping us a lot. They're two great players, and they've really, really transitioned very smoothly. Probably, one of the better freshman classes in terms of transitioning and catching on that I've ever had in my career. So I'm really excited about that.
For Jada Peebles, just the last 2 seasons for her, just having the success that she's had versus what she kind of had before that. What do you think that's kind of meant for her? Just to, have that experience of some happy times for her going into what's going to be her final season.
I hope it's meant a lot. I hope that, she's really taken it all in and enjoying the experience. She stayed loyal and she stayed, true to here. She could have left last year, she could have left this year. And she's wanted to kind of see this all the way through. And I think that speaks to her as a person. And as a player, I think she's in a much better place. She's, last year she was coming off of that surgery, and now she's really being more aggressive, attacking, trying to get to the rim, taking more jump shots, where last year was really a catch and shoot player. And really my biggest thing with her and what I think that she's going to be great this year for us is defensively. I told her and I challenged her, I think she should be one of our lockdown defenders with her length and her ability to move and her ability to sustain. She doesn't really get tired. And she can. So I'm just pushing her to play as hard as she can every minute she's out there. But I'm expecting big things from Jada in her last year here.
How much can KB's game look different than it did last year? And I don't mean that just she's playing the four with Hobby, but even as the 5, can she expand what she can do on both ends of the floor a little bit?
Yeah, I believe so. And I've told her that, and she's worked hard on her outside shot. I'd like to see her being very confident taking that when she is open, and she showed some glimpses of that last year when against Iowa. She, I think, was 7 for 7 or whatever, and a lot of it was 15, 16-foot jump shots. So that's one area I really want to see her do better at and expand her game, and she's worked on it, so I'm excited to see it in game time. And then I do think, with her being able to get a little bit of a break, even minutes here or there, she can even go harder in those minutes and be more effective in those minutes where, she was the one player, you don't get many of those type of players where she, especially at the 5 position, where I could leave her really for the whole game, and she could sustain, but is that the best for her? Because she has to save energy at some time throughout those minutes. So I think that's going to really help her as well.
What kind of adjustments do you think you've made so far compared to the preparation process from last season?
Yeah, we're just in such a different place, right? So last year, everything was new. The whole system we're trying to put in place. We're putting in defensive concepts. I wouldn't say we still have some things we haven't gotten in yet. But that's because now we're at a point where we're nitpicking every little thing. So we're worrying about that now, where last year we were just worrying about trying to establish a culture, a foundation, who we are, and no one knew that. Even our 2 kids from Dayton that knew us, it was still different because it's different people, new place. So in terms of just that and the confidence and the familiarity with each other, I think we're night and day from last year. So it's not even about do we have more in, do we have this, it's about how can we fine-tune things even more so now that we're able to do that, not worry about some of the other stuff. All good?
Thanks, Shauna.
Thank you guys, appreciate it.